Good day, everyone. I am Matt Harrison, and you are listening to the Guiri Cast, the Malaga fan podcast for all the Guiris out there. We go into match day 9, having already been to Cordoba away and Granada away. But Malaga's Andalusian adventures in Segunda keep on coming as this coming weekend we head west to Cadiz. Another game labelled high risk by the authorities, and I'm sure tensions will be high on the pitch too, as Malaga seek their first away win of the season, although they remain undefeated on the road, whilst Cadiz will be looking to try and kickstart their own season as they seek their first home win of the season in this Andalus derby. Exciting times this Saturday in what I think is probably one of the most lovely, rugged Spanish cities, and definitely one of the most fun to visit. And speaking of fun, lovely and rugged, here's my Guiri Cast co-host, Nick Bell. How are you, Nick?
I appreciate all those adjectives. They were brilliant. I'm very well, thanks, Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. I've got a glass of red wine with me tonight to cheer up from the grey skies over the Costa del Sol at the moment. And apparently they're going to continue over the weekend too. I don't know what it's going to be like further west, but perhaps we can get a weather forecast in a couple of minutes, because we're delighted to have a guest joining us tonight. I'll just to avoid disappointment, in case any Everton, Norwich or Wigan fans have read the summary of this week's podcast and seen Matt Jackson is joining us. It is not the seasoned centre-back of the late 90s, early 2000s. However, we are much happier to have this Matt Jackson because he has links to Malaga, but perhaps more importantly for this pod tonight, this Matt Jackson is a Cadiz fan. So how are you, Matt?
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. Very well, thanks. How are you both doing?
Very good, very good indeed. Just quickly, I did sort of just Google Matt Jackson to check I had the right clubs. The other Matt Jackson. I don't think you have a Wikipedia page, Matt. Do you know what the old centre-back Matt Jackson is doing now? Because this blew my mind.
I don't. I remember him playing, I think he played at Wigan.
Yeah.
Well, mentioned Norwich and Everton. I always remember him being at Wigan, but then what is he doing now? I don't know.
I should go on, Nick.
I was going to say, I might be thinking of Mike Jackson, but I'm pretty sure he was like assistant manager at Burnley for a while or something like that, wasn't he?
There was a Michael Jackson as well, who was quite a similar sort of player, I seem to remember as well. No, this Matt Jackson is now the president of Grasshopper Zurich.
Oh, wow.
Of course.
I only found this out about 30 minutes ago, so I've not dug deeper in how that came about. But yeah, there's one.
That links nicely to a tweet I put the other day, because I saw an article which was linking Man City to appointing Hugo Viana as their sporting director. He's currently, head sporting director at Sporting. And I think I'm just at that age now where, these football players from my youth are in either elevated positions at football clubs, like sporting directors or managers and things like that, or they're out in Dubai and they're in property. There is no middle ground. They aren't doing anything else out there at the minute. It's just those two things.
Yeah, they're doing a YouTube channel with some fellow lower league footballers or something like that. Anyway, there's not too much news to report, so we'll do a bit of Malaga news, which does have a Cadiz sidebar to it as well. The Copa del Rey draw was done today, Nick. I can't remember if one of you or Luke called it on Tuesday, because you did list a couple of games or a couple of teams you'd like us to play. And you think one of you did mention Estepona, and we have drawn Estepona, obviously being played in Estepona. I should asterisk that by saying maybe an Estepona, because they've not played at their ground this season. So any thoughts on that draw in general to start with?
Yeah, well, it was Luke and his Mystic Ball that got that one. I was looking for more a Cultural Leonense or a Hercules game, if I'm being honest with you. Looking forward to the challenge, I suppose, because I believe both of them are top of their respective divisions at the minute. But Estepona is still a good shout. Obviously, I assumed that Ballesta was still the manager there, but he's moved on to pastures new now. And
funny enough, I think it's a guy that used to play for Wigan. Is there going back to?
Yeah. Oriol Riera, who signed for Wigan when they dropped out of the Premier League, and came with quite a big aplomb. Really, he was given the number 9 shirt for them and expected massive things, but it just never really kicked on for him. But That's now the second time that Wigan's been mentioned on the podcast tonight.
Yeah, it's quite a night for Wigan so far. But yeah, like I think I put in our WhatsApp group, it's a fun local tie. But for someone like me that sort of wanted to go, this season, the nearer the games are, the harder it is to get a ticket. So I'm going to try and have another adventure somewhere else. Matt, we'll throw you in here. There's Cadiz got a bit of an adventure, and also in Andalusia, just about in the very north of Andalusia, you're going to Real Jaén. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've been drawn away at Real Jaén. I think it's a pretty cool draw. Real Jaén, they've got a good fan base. It's just a shame that the club's been very poorly managed. It's kind of been left to rot a bit. They've got a huge catchment area, and it's just been a club that's left to die. I think they're playing a couple of divisions below where they should be. So, it's never nice to see they've got a big ground that's just been abandoned. So obviously I want Cadiz to win, but in the long run, I want the best for them as well. It's never nice to see big clubs suffering in the lower leagues, is it?
Yeah. And again, I really want to go to Real Jaén. Well, I say Real Jaén. I want to go to Jaén because I think it's probably the biggest city I've not been to in Andalusia now. So it's been on my list for a while. So I have actually, if I can't make a Malaga game, I have been looking at trying to go up there. Maybe I'll even look at this game. I've got nothing going on that week now. If I can't be bothered going up to Andalusia, I'm not even joking. I've just thought of that.
Yeah. I've been to the stadium once. It was end of season game, nothing to play for from either side, and there were 8 Cadiz fans there, and the ground was about 10% full. So I would like to go again, but in a more intense atmosphere, let's say this time, rather than an end of season dribble.
Yeah, I suppose we should give a shout out as well to obviously we should say Matt is joining us from Malaga. We'll find out, what the Cadiz link is shortly, but Matt's local to here and very local to me is San Pedro de Alcantara, which obviously has the club U de San Pedro. One of my favorite lower league teams, if not my favorite sort of local lower league team. They have drawn Celta Vigo at home, which is great fun. Have you been to San Pedro's ground, Matt?
I've not, but they've got a very cool little main stand, haven't they? I've seen it. It's quite a steep, thin main stand that they've got. It's one that I've got on my list to go. It's
brilliant. It's one of my favorite. And actually, because when I first moved here, I lived in San Pedro for a month. So I've got a real soft spot for the place and the football club. So they always had cool tracksuits as well. I always liked the tracksuit.
And talking about the lower league scene around Malaga, I went to Torremolinos against Cadiz B team, Cadiz Mirandilla on Saturday. I do like Torremolinos because it's one of the few grass pitches in the lower leagues, and it's a cool little stadium. You can have beers by the side of the ground. There was 900 people, good atmosphere, and the sun was out. You can't beat it, can you?
You're preaching to the choir here, Matt. They're a big favourite on this podcast, Torremolinos. A few of us have been there before and all. I don't think you've been there yet, have you, Nick? You've tried to go a couple of times, I think, haven't you?
I almost got there last time, and then I had to go home early, so I ended up catching the flight. But it was in my plans. Next time, hopefully, I'm like I said, out again in early December, and I'm going to make the most of it and see if we can, align the stars finally. But it looks brilliant, to be fair.
It is great. Let's try and not turn this into a Costa del Sol ground hopping podcast. As much as I love that, that'd be great. Just quickly back to Malaga. The only other little bit of news is fixture news. The game against Real Zaragoza, which is in the middle of November, the 17th of November, is going to be played 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. Again, I hoped it'd be Saturday. I could have gone if it was Saturday. I've been shafted again. None of these games are falling for me this season after my travails last year, but never mind. I'm sure I'll keep myself going. Nick, just before I press record, you said something about Ricardo Horta, and I was like, oh, not this again, but do we need to say something about it?
Oh, the Caz are giving them extra time to discuss a settlement or something like that. So, yeah, the elongated saga that is Ricardo Horta is elongating even further. So, yeah, not much to report here.
Yeah, carry on, Horta, as I said earlier. Anyway, let's get to the big game this weekend, another Andalus derby. And, of course, it would be rude not to get a bit of a feel for Cadiz from our guest here, Matt. So I guess we've got to go into it, Matt, because I don't know the answer to this, so I'm really curious. You've told us you're a Mansfield fan, so I'm wondering if there's any link with the colours there. But you live in Malaga. You're from Newark, you've told us, or you've lived in Newark.
Yeah.
Why are you a Cadiz fan?
So the link of the colours of Mansfield Town and Cadiz is just purely coincidental, by the way. But around 11 or 12 years ago, I was doing Erasmus in Granada. And I did go to quite a few Granada games, and I did enjoy them. But, you sometimes feel a connection with a club and sometimes you don't. And I enjoyed the games and that was it. But I was living with a friend from Cadiz, and he's a big Cadiz fan. So he was saying, you need to come to a Cadiz game. You need to come to a Cadiz game. And then I never got there that season, but then I moved back to England, finished my studies, and then moved out to Malaga a year after. And he wasn't in Malaga, but his best friend was living in Malaga. So he hooked us two up and he said, right, you need to start taking him to Cadiz games. And then, well, I suppose the rest is history. But the first Cadiz game that I went to, it was Marbella away in probably 2014. And it was at the old stadium with the athletics track, two proper old school stands and everything. A quality old school, without going on too much about the Costa del Sol lower league grounds. We were doing the botellón outside the stadium, the fans receiving the bus in, and then just really good atmosphere. Cadiz won Cadiz drew in the 93rd minute, scoring kind of last minute equaliser. All the fans running onto the athletics track. And then just in that moment, I just absolutely loved it. And then started going to games as much as possible. Like that season, we played in El Palo, which is another team in Malaga. We went to La Linea, which isn't too far away. Like trying to go to as many home games and away games as possible, and got the bug. And that was when we were in Segunda B. And then I became a socio, I became a season ticket holder. And then 9 years later, I'm still following Cadiz home and away, trying to get to as many home games as possible, and then trying to follow them away as much as possible as well. So yeah, it's just one of those stories, really.
I'm trying to think what football clubs or grounds we haven't mentioned on the Costa del Sol. I think we've covered most of them, but enough though. I like, I don't know. I don't feel we need to tread carefully here, but like there is this rivalry between Malaga and Cadiz, which I suppose us Guiris don't really get mixed up in as much, or you're probably more casual fans. But like I will say straight away that, and I know I heard Nick saying on the review show this week that Cadiz is, you won't find many more unique, more, like I said in my intro, fun cities in Spain. I love them. I've not been to a game at the stadium because I've sort of put myself with Malaga so much. I know if I put something on social media, I'd probably get torn apart. So I'd like to go in the away end there, but that's proven difficult to get a ticket for.
Yeah, I think we've only given 500 or 400 tickets that I'm assuming got gobbled up straight away, didn't they? But I think it's one of those cities that you just feel it's kind of one of those unique cities, like a Naples type of city, not as kind of Naples, but it's a city that's very unique. It's got something about it, and also the Cadiz people, the Cadiz fans as well. That when you become part of it, you just feel like part of a family without it sounding too cliche. So then you people start to recognize you. Everyone's kind of calling you out for being the Guiri that follows Cadiz. We don't have as many Guiri followers as Malaga does. So then it kind of you just become a bit hooked, really, and then start following them home and away. And that's another thing that I love.
I guess if I had to sort of, obviously try and go to a game if you're really interested in Cadiz, or even just visit the city, definitely visit the city. But if you had to get a feel for it, I think Copper 90 did a really good documentary last season about them, which was very much city orientated as much as it was club orientated. But I said to Nick yesterday when I just confirmed you were joining us, I said, we've got to mention the Rick Stein clip at some point.
Yes, that is a classic. That is a classic in Manteca, Casa Manteca, and then the old woman comes in, Uchi comes in and screams. And the thing is, that is just Cadiz through and through. These sort of old they still exist. It's you go into the old part of Cadiz and it's like stepping back in time, and it's one of those cities that you don't really want to change. You want it to stay in its period of time.
I think it is the only time as well that Rick Stein has ever broken character in one of his documentaries, because you can actually tell he was generally first shocked, and he has the most like British reaction to it as well, which again you just wouldn't do in Spain, would you? So I just was like, yeah, that's why Cadiz is special.
Yeah, I think if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm sure I can get Nick or one of the guys to perhaps retweeted or tweeted out from the Guiri cast thing if you want to feel for Cadiz. It sums it. I think it probably sums up more than the Copper 90 documentary, actually, which is this is 20 seconds, where that's 20 minutes or so. The one that was just quickly on the city, the thing I always found funny there was I was in this absolutely silent, like empty bar one night. I think it was a Monday night I was there one time, and it was only me in there. And I said to the barman, "Where's the toilet?" And he sort of gestured us that way. And I opened the door, and there was about 100 OAPs there, and they were all watching like a projector, black and white film. And they all turned around and looked at me, and like in disgust, and they all started shouting at me. And then when I was back outside, because I went to the toilet quickly, the barman was pissing himself. He obviously didn't really know that I was walking into. It was like a tiny bar, and then it just opened out onto this like theater, but no advert that it was a theater.
The funny thing about Cadiz as well, the more central you go, the more kind of authentic it is, which these days the complete opposite is happening with every city. Yeah, you have to go further away to feel more authentic experiences, whereas with Cadiz you go right into the center, to the market, to the streets around it, and you don't get much more Cadiz than that.
Right, I'm gonna hijack a bit here, to be honest with you, Matt, because I've got a question here that says favorite players, moments with Cadiz, etc. But I'm just going to talk about my favorite, because I sort of warned you I'd bring him up. That you've already mentioned Naples and said like it's a bit like Naples, and obviously you go to Naples and Diego Maradona is the god there. You know, the stadium's named after him. It's covered in Maradona graffiti. You know, Cadiz has its own Maradona. A player Maradona once said is better than me. I've never heard of him till I moved to Spain, and I've become obsessed since, even though, you know, there's this, I'm not really supposed to like things from Cadiz. Can you tell me about Mágico González? Because he is the most interesting footballer like ever, I think.
Mágico González is God, and he is Dios in Cadiz. He is not quite at the Naples extreme of Maradona, where you see his face plastered all over the city, but you will see a lot of T-shirts, images of Mágico. And it's funny because, you know, these sort of things would never happen these days with football, but no one knew who he was until I think it was the 82 World Cup in Spain, and he's from El Salvador. Yeah. And, you know,
they got him because of him.
Exactly. And in fact, you know, they didn't have a great World Cup. They lost 10-1 in one of the games. I think in total, they lost all 3 games, quite heavy score.
Just quickly, on the 10-1 game, some newspapers give him man of the match.
Wow. And that just shows. And then Cadiz picked him up, and he absolutely fell in love with the city, the lifestyle. It just completely matched the way that he wanted to live, that he wanted to play a bit of football, play in his own way, but then go out, live the lifestyle, drinking, smoking, etc. And then, you know, at a later stage, Barcelona picked him up. Have you heard about the saga with Barcelona? Fortunately, he didn't last very long. He got taken on a pre-season tour, didn't like the seriousness. You know, he was caught playing tricks, drinking, etc. on the pre-season tour, and I think he lasted maybe a month or something at Barcelona.
Yeah, the story goes, isn't it? It was him and Maradona was like, this guy's crazy.
And they were setting off fire alarms in the hotel, playing tricks like that. They were drinking, partying, etc. Not really living up to the pre-season expectations, I don't think.
And I don't know if it's like a myth or something, but the one where they set the fire alarm off, isn't it like Mágico comes downstairs and he's just got like 2 women with him or something?
That's what I've heard. He was caught with a couple of women, and you know, the rest is history. But and then I can't remember which order he then went to Valladolid. But you know, probably suited him slightly better than Barcelona, but still what he wanted was living on the coast, the sun, the chilled out lifestyle. Then he came back to Cadiz, and if you watch some of the goals that he scored, like these days, he would be worth billions, but you just can't compare, because obviously in this day and age, no one would accept his lifestyle, and he probably wouldn't have wanted to fit in or make an effort. But yeah, he's such a unique character, and I think he kind of represents Cadiz and what the people of Cadiz are as well.
Yeah, sort of that throwback as well of being hungover and not turning up to the game, and turning up half time and turning the game for Cadiz and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Even hungover, he was still the best player on the pitch by a mile. And like you say, you know, Maradona said that he's never seen a player like him.
Yeah,
it's just strange that he's such an amazing player, and he's just he's not very well known, I would say. It's only really in Spain that you hear about him, and in El Salvador as well.
Yeah, it's like I could do a whole podcast about him, so I'll try and like move us on because we've got to preview this game as well. But I do tell anyone, just type Mágico González in YouTube or anything. Read articles from Cadiz fan. It's like an old folk tale almost.
Yeah, you will still see a lot of people with Mágico or number 11 on the back as well, because he's just a legend.
Do you have a favorite Cadiz player? Because obviously I've just told you mine.
Well, currently or kind of in my time as a
maybe one in your time. Who's the one in recent years you've enjoyed?
You know what? I was thinking about this, and probably Aguirre Keche, he's called. So he used to be a Bilbao player. In fact, he got in trouble with the police, dropped down a couple of leagues, and then he came to Cadiz. And on the ball, he could have free kicks. He could have a kind of, wherever he was, he'd have a shot. And some of the goals that he scored have been amazing. And one of my favorite goals, one of my favorite moments as a Cadiz fan, we were playing away at Sevilla Atlético, so Sevilla B team, and we were playing at the Sanchez Pizjuán, and there were 8,000 Cadiz fans. He got a free kick around 35 yards away, and it was a screamer. It went top corner. Like, he was one of those players that he doesn't score average goals, is top corner from 30 yards or nothing. So I'd say that type of player, because Cadiz normally, they try and pass the ball into the net. There's never really any long range shooting, whereas he would just get the ball and think, sod it, I'm going for it. So yeah, I think now he's at Zaragoza, but he's not really been playing that much, and he's not really seemed to have the impact that he had at Cadiz. But it was at Eibar and then Zaragoza. But I'd happily take him back to Cadiz, to be honest.
Yeah, Nick, I don't know. I don't want to leave you out. Do you have a favourite Cadiz player of all time?
Well, let me pull out my list of favourite Cadiz players. There was a time where it felt like Cadiz was quite the destination to end a career at. Was always what I used to think of Cadiz, especially like maybe going back 10 or 15 years. So notably, I remember Diego Tristan. He went from West Ham to Cadiz. I thought that was quite fun, and we recently played against Diego Tristan in the anniversary game, and he's still got it. He's still got it. And I think I might need confirmation on this. I think he is somewhat of a local hero because he's a Jerez boy. But Dani Guiri, if you remember him,
Guiri scored the goal to get us promoted. He's a legend as well. He won the 2008 Euros with Spain. He actually played there as well. Yeah, he finished his career with Cadiz. In fact, I think he's still playing in the very, very, very low leagues of the Cadiz lower leagues. But yeah, he is a legend. Not because, David Barral as well. He finished nearly finished his career at Cadiz. So we did have a couple of years of kind of these 35-year-olds come in, having a year or two at Cadiz, and then hanging up the boots. So
it's like the Bolton of Spain. It's the way I'm probably thinking of it.
Probably a nicer place to retire than Bolton, though.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I've not checked this, but when you were talking about players, I'm pretty sure Cherno Samba ended up there, Football Manager legend. Didn't he end up in Cadiz? I don't know.
What year are we talking?
Oh, I don't know. But like when Cherno Samba, I'm sure one of the Football Manager Wonder kids, because he wrote a really harrowing article about he had lots of mental health issues, but I'm sure he was a caddy for one point. But
obviously Duda as well from our perspective, Matt. He started at Cadiz before joining Malaga, so he's from both sides of the divide.
He's a bit of a legend as well, isn't he?
He is, very much, definitely.
And then we've actually got Ivan Alejo, that I think he used to play at Malaga a couple of seasons ago.
Yes, he did. The name.
I don't think he played that much, but we've had him now. I think we've had him now 4 or 5 years.
Right, yeah. I've let you had your fun, Matt, and saying your favourite Cadiz moments. Now let's talk about the proverbial hit in the fan. So obviously, we'll talk about this season so far shortly, and we'll hear from our other Spanish Segunda expert in a minute. But obviously, you've been in the big league for a couple of seasons. So did last season's relegation look inevitable over the coming seasons? Could you see any progression, or what went wrong last year?
You could definitely see it coming. I mean, the first season, it was actually a season where it was COVID. I don't think fans went into any of the games, bit of a shame. But that season we actually played quite well, finished mid-table, kind of solid season. And then the last couple of seasons, we were saved on the last day. And then I think the problem is in the last season that we've just been relegated, we didn't have a striker. We got Lucas Perez, went to Deportivo La Coruña.
We know.
Which fair play to him. He obviously took a pay cut. Negredo had left as well. Talking about strikers finishing kind of at Cadiz, we had Negredo, El Tiburón, the Shark, and then we just didn't have any goals, to be honest. Like, one of our top scorers was the penalty taker, who's a central midfielder. Defending was okay, but when you're going into games hoping to get a 0-0, for me, that's just not a kind of path for success. So losing away, struggling to get a draw at home, and it was kind of the writing was on the cards, really. So we'd changed manager a couple of times, changed manager again towards the end of last season. Pellegrini came in, didn't work, and then finally come down. But I think right now with the squad we've got, we're at our level, and it's actually nice to go into games knowing that you can compete and go into the ground thinking we might win, we might draw, we might lose. Whereas in La Liga, you're going assuming that you're going to get beat and that we're going to be near the bottom of the table. So, say from a fan's perspective, it's quite a refreshing change.
Yeah. Before we talk to you about what's happened this season so far, then Matt, and give your Cadiz fan perspective, we'll go as always to our Spanish Segunda expert. We have a little spiel from Alex Fitzpatrick of the Spanish Segunda podcast, and he's given us his sort of 1 minute, 90 seconds thoughts on Cadiz. So here is Alex Fitzpatrick.
Malaga travelled to Cadiz on Saturday evening for an Andalus derby, a high-risk game it has been categorised, and one where there's going to be a little bit of needle both on and off the pitch. I said a couple of weeks ago when Malaga travelled to Granada that if Granada didn't win, that Abascal, their coach at the time, could be sacked, and I'm going to say the same this week about Paco Lopez at Cadiz. He is a manager under pressure. They're sitting just outside of the drop zone with 9 points from 8 games, and they're yet to win a home game, which was good news for Malaga because, of course, that is where they will be playing this weekend. In their 4 home games so far this season, they've drawn 2 and lost 2, including a 4-0 defeat on the opening day of the season to Real Zaragoza, and the last home game, a 2-1 defeat to Eldense. They have only 1 clean sheet this season. That was against Racing Club de Ferrol at home and a 0-0 draw, and we've spoken before about the strength or relative lack of strength that Racing Club de Ferrol will have this season. So an incredibly disappointing home result. They got the clean sheet, not the win. Finding the net, though, has generally been no issue for them. Only 2 of the 8 games this season have they failed to score. Their issue is finding the balance, and the key for them, for Cadiz, in finding the balance is Farley, who plays generally at centre-back, but sometimes this season under Paco Lopez has played as a defensive midfielder, centre defensive midfielder. And when he's been on the pitch, after that opening day disaster 4-0 defeat, since then they've only conceded 2 goals when he's been on the pitch. The problem is he's not been on the pitch half as much as they would like because of injury. They will play generally a 4-3-3 formation. Chris Ramos is the jewel in their attacking crown. He's the goal scorer, a local Cadiz boy. Dangerous, pacey, tall, good in the air, good all-round centre forward. And of course, there's the old enemy, Ontiveros, who left Malaga in very controversial circumstances and then looked to be returning and didn't. He has been lining up and is one of the attacking players of choice for Paco Lopez. That is Cadiz against Malaga, the Andalus derby on Saturday evening.
There you go. Thank you, Alex Fitzpatrick. And as always, if you want to learn about the other 21 clubs in the Spanish Segunda, División, other than Malaga, then definitely go and check out the Spanish Segunda Show with Alex and Liam and others. So go check that out. Matt, so I guess perhaps we'll deal with the first point Alex brought up there. As he rightly said a couple of weeks ago, we speculated that we could be the executioners of Granada's manager. Mm-hmm. If results go wrong here, do you expect Paco Lopez to go?
Honestly, after this game, I don't think that he will be sacked, but I would give it 2 or 3 more games, and then I would probably expect him to go. The problem is there's rumors on social media that they're already lining up Cervera. Cervera was a bit of a Cadiz legend. We got promoted twice with Cervera. You know, he kept us in the first league, and without signing, pretty standard average players, let's say, got us promoted. His style of football wasn't great. It was very 0-0, 1-0s. But it worked. And then I think the problem is with Paco Lopez, and in fact the previous managers, is they've not really defined their own style of play, whereas he did. It was clear. It wasn't the most exciting, but it worked. Whereas Paco Lopez, I'm not sure how much power he's had to build his own team or how much power is coming from above about the players he signs, etc. I think we've got an okay squad, but yeah, winning 2 games so far this season and both of them being away and only having 1 clean sheet, that's pretty worrying.
Yeah, it's like obviously Paco Lopez, we should say, I remember he did like a great job at Levante, didn't he? And was really like popular there. And obviously he got our other Andalus cousins up, Granada. What's sort of gone wrong on the pitch? You said he's not got much of a plan. What's he trying to do? Is there any discernible plan?
For me, one of the biggest concerns is, again, the lack of attacking play. Chris Ramos is more or less up there on his own. So he's tall, he can win headers, but then when those headers aren't getting passed on to anyone, it's a bit of a waste. We're not really using the wings. We could have pace on them, but we're not really using them. So yeah, I think for me is the lack of attacking play. And Chris Ramos, he's got 4 goals, but you watch the game on Saturday and you'll see that he's not the best player. Putting it nicely, he's a nice guy. He's from Cadiz, but he's not much of a threat, to be honest. He's just been in the right place at the right time for his 4 goals. I know that is the role of a striker. However, like if I was you, I would not be worried about Chris Ramos this Saturday.
Oh, so he is the one I'm worried about, because the last time we came up against Chris Ramos when he was playing for Lugo, he was a thorn in our side, wasn't he, Matt? I remember we were both there for that game, and he was just electric.
Yes, he was good. Yeah, and also, sorry to sort of kick you when you're down. You're saying you don't have much of a goal scorer. You've also conceded the most goals in the league as well. So.
Yeah. the 4-0 at home to Zaragoza, that didn't help, and then it's just gone downhill from there. And then we have got Fali at the back, but I also think Fali's kind of past his best as well. Yeah. He played well a few seasons ago in Primera, but this season he's not been up to the level.
Okay, who is obviously Alex in his preview then mentioned a few names. Perhaps we'll talk about the one which Malaga fans sometimes refer as Raton.
Yeah. He's starting to warm up, because had a bit of a slow start. He'd been injured, didn't play, but he scored the previous week, and he's starting to come into his own. So I'm excited about him. I'm a big fan of Ivan Alejo. He's on the wing. Hopefully he'll start. He's not been starting that much recently, but he's got pace. So I think that he can be a threat as well. And then we've got a couple of decent players that are injured. Escalante and San Emeterio as well, which they're solid centre midfielders, but they've not been featuring recently. So yeah, I think central midfield, we've got some good players if they can just all get back to full fitness.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'll say I think me and Alex have referenced it before. As in Alex Ashmore, that we went to the Fuenlabrada away game a few years when Ontiveros was playing for Fuenlabrada, and it was the whole Malaga away end was just going for him. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that will carry on. I don't think that has changed.
I can imagine he'll get a bit of abuse this Saturday, won't he, from the Malaga corner?
Yeah. That's a fair forecast, Nick.
Yeah, I think he's in for a handful from the Malaga fans, but I think he's going to have to deal with that the rest of his career, given the nature of his departure from the club. What I'm looking forward to see if he even gets anywhere near the pitch, Matt, is one player we played last season who was at Atletico San Eugenio, Umwepu.
Yeah, Umwepu.
Yeah, Paco. So he had been in the Cadiz B team, San Luqueño, etc. And he's very strong. He's very quick as well. So I'm excited to what he can bring. So it's always nice for them to see them going through the youth team and then into the first team.
If I remember rightly, Nick, did he score like 4 goals in a game, or was it just a really good hat trick he scored one game? I remember he like stormed.
Yeah, he scored a really nice hat trick in one of the games, but he really, like, early doors was involved in the Golden Boot race, and again in an unfancied San Luqueño side, going up against Jesus de Miguel at Castellón, for example, and I think he just tailed off around just before Christmas, but. The stature of the lad, what I mean? You say that you're not scoring goals at the minute. He's certainly someone who is worth a punt because he knows where the net is.
Yeah.
And obviously just has that tenacity of youth on his side as well. Like we always mention it every single week.
Yeah, he's got presence and he's strong, and that's something that we don't have a lot of up front. We've got Chris Ramos, but he's similar to Peter Crouch, can't always control his legs. And then he's not really, or in my opinion, he's not that much of a threat. So to have Paco Mbepo by his side, that for me could be powerful.
See, when Ramos played against us for Lugo, he played as a winger, and that's for me where he looked more effective. And I really do understand the punt that Cadiz took on him. Obviously, replacing Lucas Perez in the circumstances was important to do, and you kind of saw the thought process behind it. You kind of saw a player you could get in there, but
yeah.
He was never someone I would consider to be a great presence, as you said, central striker. Put him out of the wing, I reckon he could do some real damage.
Yeah, and I think Segunda is more or less his level, to be honest. Segunda maybe even below, but when we were in the first division last season, then he just didn't have anything to offer, and he just looked like a rabbit in the headlights, to be honest.
Yeah, just quickly before we go into Malaga, I don't think any of you mentioned this player, and he was a player I always quite liked. I'm even now wondering if he's still at Cadiz and if I've read it wrong. Oscar Melendo, is he still there?
Oscar Melendo
played for Espanyol. He was really good at Espanyol, I remember. I thought I saw.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, still there, number 25.
Yeah, he's there, but we just signed him in the summer. Okay. I don't think he's played though yet.
Well, he's good.
I don't
know if he's any good. Just quickly before we do our little Malaga bit, Matt, I should just ask, obviously you live in the city, do you ever get along to La Rosaleda at all?
So you know what, when I first moved to Malaga, I did go quite a few times, and I remember I went to, it was the Costa del Sol trophy, and it was Malaga Fiorentina. I think that was 2014 or 2015. And that was back in the day when the pre-season friendlies would attract kind of the big names. So I went to Malaga, Fiorentina. I've been to a few games, just friends having season tickets and then not being able to go. So I'd probably say been here 10 years and I've probably been 8 or 10 times or something to La Rosaleda.
That's probably most Cadiz fans will say. So
yeah, I was going to say I'd always been just as a neutral, and then I went in 2019 when it was Malaga Cadiz, and then that was a completely different atmosphere, which I think it'll be quite an intense atmosphere this Saturday as well.
We need to get more of a hook here, Max. This is now the second guest of the season who moved to Malaga and then chose to support other teams in Andalusia. So we're seeing a theme here.
But for me, as long as people don't move here and just support Madrid or Barcelona, I always think support whoever you want. But as long as you support a team that isn't Madrid or Barcelona and you go to games, then then there's respect there.
Yeah, and that's the podcast title sorted. There you
go. Very long one, but yeah. So just on Malaga, because I know on the review show you and Luke sort of danced around like some sort of selection choices. I know you actually stole my thunder a little bit, actually, because I was going to bring up my sort of big shock this week was going to be Antonito as a number 9 in the future. at the top of our sort of attack rather than on the wing. But you've used all that up now. So I'll just say I agreed with you. I did think that during the Depor game, especially with Kevin coming back. But what do you think? Obviously, we don't have Antonito for this game. He is still out with the Spain under-19s, and he has been playing for them, I believe, as well, which is good. What would you change for this game? Because obviously, as you guys said in the Depor review pod, it was quite a fun 0-0 draw last weekend, and we had our really good moments in it. And I think you guys even said that we finished the game well. What would you? I guess the main thing is make sure Rocco doesn't start again.
Yeah, I think Rocco's got to go the way of Hernandez, unfortunately, and just go. We've tried that now. It's not going to be one of them. Let's just put him out to pasture for the season. It's difficult though, because those two players that have made us so bright so far this season, Antonito and Aaron Maloney, missing is a big loss for Malaga in this game. And I can't see someone who's going to come and replace what Aaron Maloney's been doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, we go very flat without him at a time when we're already disconnected from our striker. So for me, it's going to be difficult to replace them. I'd maybe like to see David Larrubia coming in to that position, maybe get Labete and Kevin as wingers and bring back Dione. I think, if he's had a rest now, that's great, but he's the only striker that we've got that looks like he could do something. That, or could we finally unleash Castel? I would hope so. I really want to see him do well.
Yeah, again, if we need a striker, I think now I've taken back my Chupete thing. I honestly think Pellicer is saving him for the next home game against Oviedo. I think he's going to unleash him then. I think that's why he's getting him to score some more goals for the B team. I think that's when he's coming in. But otherwise, I agree with everything you say, apart from I'm still, I don't know about Kevin's fitness. So maybe Romani's still ahead of him. I don't know. I'd rather, if Kevin's fit, then get him in. I don't know if you saw, by the way, Kevin did a fun interview with Eldes Marque today. He was very Kevin and a little bit cryptic when they asked about contract extensions. He did sort of say, look, this is home. I want to stay here. I'm leaving it with other people. When I was like, just say you want to stay, Kevin, which he sort of did. He did talk a lot about when he went to Portugal and when he was a kid and he had like a bit of a time with Sevilla and like he felt like quite homesick and wanted to come back. So let's just hope he stays homesick and can't travel.
Will we see Kevin this Saturday then, or?
I think we'll see him. He's been injured for about a month now, so he made his comeback off the bench last weekend. Looked good actually.
There's just no one else for me that can do that left wing role, unless you do put Romani out there instead and continue with Larrubia maybe on the right. But we've got all these attacking wing options, but they're so limited in what they can do at the minute, whether it's through injury, whether it's through lack of fitness. And it's a bit frustrating that we've had to pin all our hopes on Antonito, being a 17-year-old. He's been brilliant, but with him missing, we're now... It does make me worry a little bit that we've lost such a big attacking presence.
And he's 17.
So then we're number one in conceding goals. We're struggling for scoring goals. You're also struggling up front as well. So therefore, this Saturday, what the hell's going to happen?
Well, there you go. You've brought me on to my lovely stats here. I think we need like a jingle here or something with Matt Stat Attack or something like that. I've got some interesting stats of. We have got the third lowest XG in the league, Malaga. Only Mirandes and Cartagena are below us. I know not everyone's into XG. I think XG is quite interesting, actually. But also, we have the fourth highest XA, which I didn't really know about, expected goals against, with Cadiz having the second highest XA. I guess ours is quite high, I think, because we've had 2 penalties against us and we've saved them. And we also have the third and fourth highest amount of yellow cards between us. I can't remember which one was third and which one was fourth. So it's a derby already. The fans are going to have a bit of needle about them, and our teams get lots of yellow cards. So there you go. There's my stat attack.
It's either going to be 3-3 or 0 or 0-0. I think it's either going to be one of the best games of the season or a complete bore draw.
Yes, that sounds that's quite accurate. We like I said, we've drawn all of our away games so far, so I think I would be very surprised if that. I think it'll be a draw, and I don't know, Nick. We keep saying we draw our away games. Will you still be happy with that this time around?
Yeah, well, that's the old adage, isn't it? That as long as you win your home games and draw your away games, you'll be in and around the top 3 at the end of the season. And I'm not saying that's where we're going to end up, but certainly on current form, we can be happy that we're surviving quite comfortably. A little bit of me has just died about talking XG. I thought this was a safe place from XG chat. This podcast.
I appeal to everyone. I do Costa del Sol ground hopping. Talk about Wigan. I talk about XG. I talk about
the kids talk around XG. You'll be unpacking foot things on FIFA soon as well. I don't understand that world either. Just show me a clip of 2011 Wigan, and I'll be happy.
I can say I have read Rory Smith's book, Expected Goals, as well. So maybe that's in the back of my head somewhere. Sort of play into all audiences and keeping everyone involved. Just one last thing I was going to say, and I meant to mention it because I listened to the review show when I was going to work this morning. The one thing you guys sort of touched upon, and I wanted to make a little bit more of a big deal of, I thought a big difference last weekend was Joaquin and Victor Garcia being back at fullback. I thought those two, compared to Danny Sanchez, and to be honest with you, I've gone a bit off Puga a bit. I thought they looked so much better, and they have to start again for me. I
did give Joaquin my biznugget.
You did, but
I am a Puga man. I'll admit that I am a Puga man through and through.
Wow,
he's more my Steve Finnan, Seamus Coleman style right back compared to Joaquin. But I appreciate the job he did on the weekend. I'm still with your idea, Matt. Puga and Joaquin double show, left back and right back. Just decide which one plays there.
Well, I don't see the need for that now. Victor's back, because I think Victor's more pure left back energy, isn't he? And actually, I think you did mention it as well, that I think him and Kevin have quite a good relationship on the left if Kevin's fit again. So, I don't know, Nick, if there's anything else you feel we have to say about Malaga Club de Football this week.
Nothing major. Obviously, this game is on Saturday night, and Luke is in Portugal. I am in Scotland, and I don't think you guys have plans for a live stream, so it'll probably be some form of minute by minute on Twitter if you do want to follow this match. But other than that, keep an eye out for the review next week. Hopefully, sorry, Matt Jackson, 3 points for Malaga.
Yeah, I've already made my predictions. 3-3 draw. I'm going for it. I'm going bold. Just wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts on. Obviously, it's been declared high risk. This doesn't happen a lot in Spain, right? So it's obviously the police are seeing it as quite an intense derby. I mean, the ones I've been to before, I'd say 95% of Malaga fans get on well with Cadiz fans. So I'd say let's see what happens this Saturday. But fingers crossed, without incidents as well.
Yeah, I think I touched upon it quite a lot last year, that with the fixtures being laid out for us in what was an amazing year in the third division, we miss you, the Primera, RFA, as good as the football has been in the Segunda. But I did a lot more away games last year, and it was nice. I've chanted so many clubs' names that I don't support this year because that's what we've been doing. So it's just a shame, really, because I get it. I'd say the only place we had issues last year were San Fernando and Atletico Sanluqueño. And, there's no coincidence there that they're the clubs in the Cadiz region. And obviously Sanluqueño is quite close to Sevilla as well. It's just a shame. It was so much fun last year mingling with fans. And like you just said, Matt, 98% of fans, they'll do that. They don't see red when they see an away shirt, and they want to go me and Nick before you started, we're like, wow, that Cadiz shirt's really nice, and want to ask you, why do you support Cadiz? That's how it should be for me. And it's a shame, but sadly it seems to be, not just in our little part of Spain, or our big part of Spain, I suppose, down here. It seems to be spreading through Spain quite a lot in recent months and last season. And I don't know what the answer is to it, sadly. I guess it's just more people like ourselves being decent football fans and trying to shout out the ones that shout loud bad things and do bad things. But yeah.
Preach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully, according to Matt Harrison.
Yeah, and I suppose on that sort of that camaraderie of football fandom, I should say a big thank you to Matt Jackson for joining us tonight, all the way from Malaga.
Thank you very much for hosting me, my neighbours.
Yeah. And I don't know, you can give a shout out to something. I don't know if you want. I know on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, the only thing that I was going to say is, look, it's Malaga, Cadiz at the beginning of March at La Rosaleda. I hope that it's, that La Liga are generous, that it's Saturday afternoon, evening, Sunday afternoon, that it's a good time, and that, well, hopefully Malaga will give us more tickets than Cadiz gave to Malaga, so that, there's more chance of getting in the away end that weekend.
Yeah, and then we can kick your head in.
That's the plan.
I jest, just in case. But yeah, thank you, Matt. I will say thank you, Nick Bell.
No problem. Thank you very much, Matt. Nice to talk to you as always. And you, Matt Jackson, as well.
Thank you very much, guys.
Awesome stuff. And thank you guys for listening. Do the thing podcasts and YouTube channels tell you to do. Subscribe, retweet, share with your friends, etc. Tell a friend. That's always nice. And we'll see you soon. Adios and vamos, Malaga.